Hi everybody, Tanya here. Checking to see how everybody's doing, and the outside weather doesn't seem so great, so trying to find some positive things to do inside and some things to keep me busy inside. I'm coming to you in my spa right now. You see that lovely little find joy in the journey. Client gave me that, which I think is awesome. Anyways, and here's my little spa room that I am coming to you from here. I wanted to actually talk to you guys a little bit about something I've battled with and that I'm dealing with. For years, I've been dealing with some boundary issues, and I took a course, I guess it's a few years ago now, a boundary course, which is amazing. And this is the book, if anybody's interested. Really good book. Doesn't matter religious or not, take out the scripture, whatever, just there's a lot of good foundation, a lot of good helpful things to use. Talks about your boundaries with your family, friends, spouse, children, work, yourself even. So I found it really good. Funny thing is though, I haven't finished the book. So every morning I am trying to, like with a cup of coffee, relax, read a little bit to get through it, because I'm not much of a reader to begin with. So, but I did want to share with you something that I wrote a while back, and a friend of mine who has a website called Wildfire Women. They're an amazing group of women. It's to encourage and uplift and empower women. Anyways, so she had asked if I wanted to write something for the website, and I would love to share it with you guys today. What defines you and your character? Who defines the person you are? You may think that you are fine with the way things have been in your life, or perhaps have lived with certain issues or relationships that have become unhealthy, and yet you may not be aware or identify with the issues at hand. Most of my life, I never really knew what boundaries were or what that meant up until now. At the ripe old age of 43, now this is a few years ago, I wrote this, a couple years ago. Better late than never, I always say. Learning to have a voice and what that looks like can be scary, but once you find that voice, there is freedom. What is a boundary? Personal boundaries is defined as guidelines, rules, or limits that a person creates to identify reasonable, safe, and permissible ways for other people to behave towards them, and how they will respond when someone passes those limits. Some examples of boundaries, and I'm sure most of you can attest to this. Some examples of boundaries: the skin, words, God's truth, geographical distance, emotional distance, and FAB, which stands for feelings, attitudes, behaviors. Boundaries are personal property lines that define who you are and who you are not, and influence all areas of your life. Physical boundaries help you determine who may touch you and under what circumstances. Mental boundaries give you the freedom to have your own thoughts and opinions. Emotional boundaries helps you deal with your own emotions and disengage from the harmful, manipulative emotions of others. In Dr. Henry Cloud and Dr. John Townsend's book, Boundaries, which I showed you guys, they say Christians often focus so much on being loving and giving that they forget their own limits and limitations. Have you ever found yourself wondering, can I set limits and still be a loving person? How do I answer someone who wants my time, love, energy, and money? Why do I feel guilty when I consider setting boundaries? I'm going to share with you a personal story of boundaries, which will not be easy for me to share. However, I believe God has His hand in every situation in our lives, even if we don't see the other side at that time, and will use that situation for His glory. I was 28 years old and found myself admired by a man that I thought was too good for me. He was handsome, athletic, kind, and charming, and had a certain presence about him. I wanted so much to be noticed out of all my insecurities. We got to know each other over the weeks and months in passing, and then it happened. Boundaries were crossed, my physical aggression as well as sexually. Left with marks on my arms and neck from holding me down, I was left paralyzed with fear and angry that I couldn't stop it. You see, I didn't make my property lines known, so that the bad would stay out and the good would stay in. I thought I had things under control, but I didn't. The only beautiful thing that came out of that mess was my little boy, who has forever changed me and still continues to. Don't be afraid to set your boundaries and make them known. It's not about controlling people. It's about grace and speaking the truth in love. It's not an easy process, but once you find your voice and start setting your property line, it will eventually get a little bit easier each time you set them. Remember, what you live, you learn. What you learn, you practice. What you practice, you become. And what you become is consequences. You are not alone, and you are loved. So that is my story that I shared a few years back. And know that you're not alone if you are going through some boundary issues. I still go through them, and it is a daily, you have to put a daily effort into it and be aware and conscious of it. So that's all I'm gonna say for now. And I really hope you guys have a blessed day. Love you guys. And I will see you maybe on the silly side. Have a great day.